This is 10 at 10, Bottom Line, featuring Nick Cousin.
KU will win the Big 12 championship this year, I guarantee it. The Bears and Jake Cutler will win the Super Bowl this year.
Griffin Hughes.
This is going to be one of the more fun seasons I think we've ever witnessed here. The reality of it is soccer is the world's game.
And Jackson Long.
Mr. Robot from behind the three-point arc, Dean Smith, was a pioneer in the game of basketball against racism in Chapel Hill and in off-the-court development of his players.
Music by Lucid Vision.
Welcome into 10 at 10, The Bottom Line. I am Griffin Hughes, joined by Nick Cousin. It's March 9th here that we are recording this, a couple hours after 10 at 10, hosted by Jackson Long. The last time he's going to host for the next couple weeks, he's going to Europe.
And he's going to work on being in his great career of journalism.
Exactly.
He'll get a great job. He's a good journalist.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
He's one of our favorite guys here.
Absolutely, no question about that. So while he's gone, I will be hosting 10 at 10.
Getting a little upgrade there, Griffin?
The Bottom Line. Yeah, for a couple of weeks I am. Getting a little promotion.
Too bad you don't get paid for it.
I can deal with it. It's not a big a deal. This morning on 10 at 10 we had a bunch of different topics, KU and otherwise, so let's just dive right into it. First of all, men's basketball. There's not much that you can say about them. I mean, I guess the one topic of conversation is, the all Big 12 selections. Do you agree?
I definitely agree with Perry Ellis being first team Big 12. I mean, we saw it this year how key he was for this team. I mean, beginning to end, just from you just saw how great it was to have him on the team. I mean, we saw him out with injury at the end of the season, and we still went without him. But when he was on this team, he was definitely the star player.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think, Frank Mason, he didn't make first team. I don't think he deserved to make first team.
Jawan Staten is definitely better point
guard.
guard.
Definitely. And to be honest with you, I think Isaiah Taylor is a better point guard. Frank Mason might be a better player, but I think Isaiah Taylor's a better point guard.
And I think if Frank Mason has more time, like he has 2 more years, I think by senior year he'll probably be one of the better point guards in the Big 12. But as of right now, he's got a lot to work on.
Yeah, I think so. Point guard wise, definitely. Bill Self, Big 12 Coach of the Year, I guess. I mean, how do you deny the coach that won the Big 12?
No, I mean, there's no question about that choice. I mean, as long as he keeps winning Big 12 regular season titles, there shouldn't be any other choice.
Yeah, no, I think so. The only thing that I will bring up is we had a conversation before the show how he stacks up in the nation, and I don't think he belongs in the conversation of best coach in the country. I mean, I think there's a lot of coaches who have done a better job than him, and I think Tony Bennett would get my vote. Just as a point of conversation.
Yeah, he's turned Virginia around. I mean,
definitely.
3 years ago, if you're talking about Virginia, everyone's like, they play basketball. But like the last 2 years, he has risen that team. And last year they're number 1 seed, and this year they're going to be number 1 seed.
Absolutely, no question. I mean, even losing to Louisville, they're going to be number 1 seed. So,
do you want to touch on Cliff real quick or no?
Yeah, no, we can do a little bit on that. It would be worth noting that he is facing some steep allegations. Him and his family.
It looks like he's gonna be ineligible because the story goes that his mother works for a financial firm that gives out loans to players that are one and done, and it looks like she might have taken out a loan before the season even started, so before his career even began here at KU. So that if they find out that that's the case, then I think he's done it. He's definitely done it at KU.
I would
playing
think so.
Basketball.
I don't think he plays another game at KU if that's actually the case. I've said this a couple times, and I'll say it on air so that it's around. I think that if these allegations are true, that he should be ruled ineligible, and by rule the NCAA should vacate wins. I mean, they've done it before.
Even though it's not a KU issue.
Well, it's what happens when a player becomes ineligible.
Yeah.
They do it in every sport. You vacate wins when a player's ineligible. It happened to Reggie Bush.
They took away his Heisman.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But here's what I will say is that they should, if these allegations are true, by rule they should, they won't. Because it looks much better for them to say, hey, look, Kansas has won 11 straight Big 12 titles, than for them to say, hey, look, Kansas had won 11 straight Big 12 titles, then we took it away from them.
Yeah, and I also don't think that Cliff was a big picture in winning this title this year. So I don't think it's really that big of a deal.
No, I mean he
Yeah.
wasn't big with the
Yeah.
NCAA. I mean they don't
Yeah,
look at that.
yeah.
They don't like, well, he wasn't that big a deal.
Yeah,
So.
and the NCAA also loves Bill Self and KU in general, so
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be that big of a sanction on them if there is one
Yeah.
placed on them. So
I would think. I mean, the sanction might go directly against Cliff.
Mhm.
I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not sure. Flip flopping to the women's side, they got knocked out of the Big 12 tournament pretty early.
And as
to
of an
Kansas
hour ago,
State.
we have some breaking news.
Bonnie Henriksen has been fired. She's been, quote, relieved of her duties
As they put on
As-
KUathletics.com.
as KU women's coach. And
We were upset when we heard the news, but we understand. We understand.
yeah,
why.
I mean, it's a production. It's a production job. You know, I mean, if you don't produce the wins, then you are not going to be doing the job for very long. And her 2 consecutive Sweet 16 appearances definitely bought her a little time, but just too much inconsistency. And I mean, if you finish below 500, even in a conference this as tough as the Big 12 is, that won't keep you around for very long.
Yeah, and you know, we finished with a losing record. The Jayhawks finished with a losing record this year, 15-17, and they lost in the first round of the Big 12. But you have to give it to them. I mean, they only played with 7 players on Friday when they played. So I mean,
Well, they've been battered with injuries.
So I mean, you can't blame them. You can't blame them for that. But just when you're a coach in any sport, winning is what keeps you your job or what loses you your job. And she obviously wasn't winning enough games for Shannon Zanger's liking. So
Yeah. No,
yeah.
I agree with you. What I will say, I'm sad. You know, I liked her. She was really the first coach that I talked to when I got here. Yeah, I mean, she's a good person. She knows a lot about basketball. I mean, her basketball IQ is very high, even by coach's standard.
And she also brought a lot of great players to this program. I mean,
Chelsea Gardner and Natalie Knight were part of her recruiting
and then
class.
you even look at the freshman this year. I mean, Lauren Aldridge. I mean, nobody saw her being any good, and look how she turned out to be.
Oh yeah, and I mean, to be honest with you, with the firing, that's the piece that I'm most concerned about. The fact that Aldridge, I mean, you would want someone who's been with her throughout her college career for the first year, because that coach would know her tendencies and really know what she can bring to the table. You bring another coach in here, you know, they might not want to run the offense the way Lauren Aldridge wants to, and so a career that looked so promising at one time, I don't know if another coach will want to build her offense around a largely untested point guard, because Aldridge doesn't really run an offense outside of that really, really fast-paced, running motion offense. That's what they do. If the coach comes in here and says, I want to slow it down, run half court, I don't know how effective Aldridge is going to be, because she's so good in transition. But in half court, she certainly needs some work.
Yeah, I can only hope that they keep running that motion offense, because we've both seen a lot of KU games. We've called a lot of women's games, and we've seen that a lot of other Big 12 teams, they play the motion offense as well too. Yeah. So that's a great offense to run to match up with the other teams. But if we see another coach come in here and switch it around, we don't know. We can't. As journalists, we can't predict how the Jayhawks will finish.
Oh yeah, definitely. I don't know if it'll happen. And I mean, the biggest development for a basketball player happens between sophomore and junior year, and Aldridge is a year behind that. So, I mean, if she loses her starting spot, I mean, it might be a very premature end to what to me looks to be an incredibly promising career that might end in the WNBA.
I totally agree with you on that. I think I see a lot of promise in her, and this might just slow her career down with Coach Hendrickson leaving. So
yeah, so we'll see, and you know we'll have to keep a close eye on who they're looking at. And
I mean, they're starting their search immediately, so we might see a coach coming up pretty soon.
I mean, we'll just have to keep an eye on that.
It's a big job. It's a big job,
definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, in a premier conference, you play in Allen Fieldhouse. I mean, these are not no names that are going to be looking for this job. I mean, there's going to be some big names that are out looking for it. So we'll just have to see who separates themselves from the pack and do some film study, I guess. Channel our inner Ron Jaworski and do some film studies.
I believe.
also on the KU side, baseball, softball, both in action this week. We'll just do a quick rundown. Softball, they lost once, immediately turned on. So they lost to Chattanooga.
21-2 on the season.
Yep. They lose to Chattanooga this week. Immediately turn around, beat them 11-3.
So they got their redemption.
Yeah, I'm not too worried. You lose a game here or there. Sometimes the bats just won't get
Chattanooga
rolling.
was a good team. They made the Super Regionals last year, so
Yeah.
that's a good loss if you're going to lose a game.
If your 2 losses are to a team that made the Super Regionals and the defending national champion, I think you're in pretty good position. But sometimes the softball team, as is the baseball team, they're very offensively driven, and so in any given game, if the sticks don't get working, and then you're not going to score runs, and you probably don't have a chance to win. And if you lose a softball game 4-0, that's usually a good sign, because usually you can score more than 4 runs in a softball game. So
they scored 11 in the next game against them, 11-3. So definitely when the bats are going, that's how they're going to win games.
Exactly. So softball looks very promising. Baseball, on the other hand, they're a team that needs the sticks to get going.
They need a lot of work on that pitching.
But in baseball, you can't really rely on scoring more than 4 runs every time, because in college softball it's pretty doable to score more than 4 runs plus per game. Baseball, not so much. So
there was some highlights in this series, especially in the outfield. We made the top 10 on Saturday morning.
A nice diving catch out of center field.
Yeah, center field. Yeah.
There was some highlights in there. Drew Morvick pitched really well again.
Yeah, going into the last game, Dakota Smith had a 4-game hit streak going, but to no prevail. He lost it on Sunday.
Right.
As the Utah Bats took over in that one.
They
scored 8 runs on us.
Utah's a good team, but really the pitching is just not where it needs to be. And Ryan Ralston, he needs to get a little bit better. I think he's got to get a little bit more movement on his breaking pitches. His velocity on his fastball is pretty good, but you need a little bit more movement and maybe add a dominant changeup in there. But if the bats aren't rolling, the team's not going to win, and that's kind of concerning, because in the Big 12 you have to face pitching staffs from TCU and Texas and Oklahoma.
You name them, they're good pitching staffs. The Big 12 is the best probably conference in baseball besides the Pac-12. With Texas, TCU in there, those are just 2 of the elite. Oklahoma's up there too.
Yeah.
So you definitely have to have the pitching going as well with the bats, or else there's gonna be a lot of runs scored on you.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
that was the issue in this series. They had a lot of runs scored on them when they weren't winning, and they lost 2 of 3.
Yeah, absolutely. So certainly things that will be improved as the pitchers get more experience and the relief gets a little bit better. The arms become less untested and they start to really find their way. But hopefully it's not too late when that happens. Because that'll kind of just go at its own pace, and it might be Kansas might be 10 games below 500 by the time they figure it out. And so,
better late than never.
Yeah, that's true. So,
yeah. If they figure it out before the Big 12 season starts, kudos to them. But they still got a couple more series before they even start that. So they got to figure out that pitching situation pretty fast.
Yeah, absolutely, or figure out a way to score 7 runs a game. One of the
that
two.
too.
The new baseball certainly helps, but you're gonna have to figure something else out.
And they're gonna start playing at home, so maybe that'll help them too. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on that for you. Moving to the professional field now, Sporting KC. They started their season on Sunday. They played the New York Red Bulls. I am the Sporting KC beat writer for the UDK, so I was there. I was covering it.
So Griffin, let's just get your take. So you little soccer guy over there with your EPL and your Sporting KC beat. It was a packed crowd at Sporting yesterday.
It was a sellout as usual.
Great stadium to watch a game in.
It's a tremendous park to watch a soccer game in. It really is. It's the fans were energized. Everybody was ready to go. Really, everybody was ready to see Sporting KC get off to a roaring start. And really, the Red Bulls had their hands full, and they had to play a tremendous game just to hold Sporting to a tie, at the end of the day. But it was a tremendous goal by Lloyd Sam, scored from outside the 18. He bent it right into the right side of the net. KC had their chances to equalize, but what it ended up being was when Matt Beasler got sent off, he got a second yellow in the 75th minute or so. That was pretty much the end, because they had to focus so much on not giving up the counterattack that they could not focus on offense. And so the only sources of offense they got were Dom Dwyer and Graham Zusi leading a counter going the other way. And that almost ended up as a goal twice. But Luis Robles for New York, he made some tremendous saves. It ended up being a 1-1 draw, but this is certainly a team that can compete for a playoff spot in the Western Conference, I would say.
Yeah, it sounds like they had a lot of struggles on the defensive end with the 2 yellow cards in the end of the game, and then they couldn't really rely on their defense anymore because they were afraid to get another double yellow card. So.
Well, certainly losing Matt Beasler, losing a guy who's a staple on a World Cup team, it's not very... And
you don't want to rely all your other offense on Zusi, who is the other World Cup member.
Right. No, definitely not. And, it was a little bit of a homecoming for Sal Zizzo, who plays for New York. He got in the game at the end. Eric Palmer-Brown, who's 17, he got in the game. 17,
wow.
Yeah, he's 2 years younger than us. That's ridiculous.
All these athletes, man, are just...
Unbelievable.
They're all our age or younger than us. Just they're making their pro.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It really is. So... I'm really excited for how that game goes. And next game, I believe they play Friday against FC Dallas, and that's down in Dallas. So I'll be live tweeting that game as best I can. I do have a flight that day, so I'll be doing my best to live tweet the game.
And I'll be in the studio covering the men's basketball game, Big 12 tournament.
That's right.
So you can read his tweets while you're listening to me in the studio. So
I couldn't think of a better way to spend your night.
No,
really.
Friday nights. That's a great plan.
That is a tremendous plan. I'm sorry I couldn't be there. We'll both be at
we'll both be there
at the
Thursday.
Sprint Center on Thursday, but unfortunately I have to leave on Friday.
Got to go back to the 303.
I have to. It's one of those things, but. Yeah, no, you can listen to Nick in the studio while you're reading the live tweets from Sporting KC. So if you are a Kansas City fan, I don't know why you would be doing anything else, really.
You got your Jayhawks, you got your Sporting KC, nothing better. Yep. No Chiefs going on. But speaking of Chiefs, NFL free agency, it's been big. They got a big signing with Jeremy Maclin. They needed a receiver. Looks like they're gonna cut ties with Dwayne Bowe, so that's a big signing for them.
Yeah.
Other big free agent trades we saw. Shady McCoy get traded to the Bills for Kiko Alonso.
Yep.
A little bit of a fallout there with Shady McCoy. Chip Kelly didn't really like him, but he's gonna get a summer player in Kiko Alonso.
Oh, that's a guy who played for Chip Kelly back in Oregon. So certainly a good trade there. And you know what? Between clearing cap space with Avant and trading McCoy away for Alonso, and objectively, they don't need a linebacker. Like, that was not one of their big needs. I've been saying this tentatively since, a couple months ago. They might be putting themselves in a position where they can trade up and they can get, the 6th or 7th pick.
And they're looking for that quarterback.
Marcus Mariota. They're not looking for a quarterback. They're looking for Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, exactly what they want. Kelly wants his guy that he recruited back at Oregon, and he can run his offense perfectly well because that's what Oregon runs.
Nobody knows Marcus Mariota better than Chip Kelly.
Exactly. I hope the Bears get Mariota because they need a quarterback too. Because they're looking to shop Jay Cutler. But no better situation for the Eagles than for Chip Kelly to get his guy.
Yeah, no, definitely. And you know what? In the current mock draft, he's projected as getting Hundley, which, that's not a bad second option because Hundley ran a very similar offense back in college.
They're both mobile
Chip
quarterbacks.
Kelly saw him a lot.
Yeah.
Chip Kelly saw what Hundley could do a lot because, Hundley played at UCLA. So
Kelly likes those mobile guys in the pocket that like to run around and create plays like that. So those are two guys that can easily do that for him.
Yep. Well, last show we got way off topic when I brought up Brett Hundley, so we're not going to do that again.
We're not going to talk about UCLA, and we're not going to talk about Notre Dame because those are teams that are our second favorites to KU. So we want to go off on tangents.
Yeah, definitely not. But on 10 at 10, I had a little rant about how Mark Sanchez is rated as the number 1 quarterback. I mean, that's ridiculous to me.
Yeah,
because
I
Brian
agree.
Hoyer's in this class. Yeah. Brian Hoyer started meaningful NFL games for a team who was in the playoff picture late in the season. And yet, I mean, do you really think that Mark Sanchez is going to be a bigger asset?
No, he just came up big in the game when Nick Foles was injured, and Mark Sanchez came in for a couple games and just filled the void.
But it's easy to look good in Chip Kelly's offense because so much of the work is on the receivers. I mean, because you're throwing these short screens and short routes underneaths and stuff like that. So much of it is on the receivers. Jason Avant, for example, caught 10 touchdowns. That's certainly different than, if a receiver on the Chiefs caught 10 touchdowns. I mean, if a receiver on the Chiefs catches 10 touchdowns, they're an MVP. But in the Eagles, you catch 10 touchdowns, you're the third string.
Yeah, because the Chiefs, they haven't had a receiving touchdown in a long time.
Oh, they had 0.
They didn't have any
from a receiver.
Yeah, when you have Jamal Charles running the ball, you rely more on him.
Right, exactly. So I don't think Mark Sanchez is anywhere near comparable to Brian Hoyer, and if I was a coach, I would exhaust Brian Hoyer and pretty much anyone else on the free agent list before I started.
And I think the Texans, from what last I read, have expressed interest in Hoyer.
That's what I'm seeing, and what the funny part is, I think the Eagles are expressing interest in Hoyer too. So
battle out for Brian Hoyer right here. Battle out.
I think that would be. I believe the Texans were also expressing interest in Sanchez. So.
I mean, they definitely need a quarterback. Last year, Fitzpatrick didn't do the job for them. And they also need some receivers to go. They just cut Andre Johnson today.
That's right. And I heard the Seahawks were the number 1 suitor for Andre Johnson. So.
And also, another big free agent that was supposed to be the top defensive lineman in the NFL signed with the Dolphins, and Ndamukong Suh. The Dolphins.
I don't know. What I said this morning is that it means more for Cameron Wake than it does for Ndamukong Suh.
Yeah, I think he just went there for the money because they asked the most money for him.
$60 million guaranteed.
That's amazing.
If you are a defensive tackle and you're getting $60 million guaranteed, why would you go anywhere else? I mean,
they're calling him the fridge of this era. I don't really agree with that. But
he doesn't play like the Fridge does.
No,
because he's more athletic. He relies on some more moves. The Fridge was just 350 pounds,
and he also wasn't a dirty player either.
I mean, yeah, that too.
Ndamukong Suh is a dirty player.
I mean, the Fridge was just 350 pounds. He could just straight up walk over you. I mean,
and
I don't have to do anything else.
I also don't see Suh scoring touchdowns as a fullback either.
I don't.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I don't see it, but I mean. The NFL, I mean, the interesting thing about the NFL free agency is that none of these things are official. So, if tomorrow the Bears called up Ndamukong Suh and said, hey, we're going to offer you $80 million guaranteed, he's probably going to sign with the Bears.
I mean, they need a lineman, but for that much money, I don't think it's worth it signing him, especially because of the way he plays. And I also think that he wanted out of the division. I think that's the main reason why he wanted to go down to Miami, out of the division, out of the conference. And they gave him the most money. I think that's what it came down to.
They wanted out of the division so that it could go to a division that's been dominated by the Patriots recently. I mean,
who knows? Who knows?
We'll see what his grand scheme is. But the Dolphins need a quarterback at the end of the day. Let's wrap up discussions here with the NBA, and we talked Russell Westbrook and the highlight from Steph Curry this morning. I know you've seen that.
Yeah, that's all viral all over the internet.
Yeah, that's a crazy play. Well, let's kind of combine the two and let's talk MVP. Okay. Steph Curry's been my number 1 for MVP all year, but I mean Russell Westbrook with his recent performance, I mean, can you really deny him a spot in the conversation?
Definitely. Out of the last 6 games, 5 of them have been triple doubles for him.
Oh yeah.
Not to mention that the Bulls stopped him for the one game he didn't, but but that's just because Etuan Moore made a great 3 at the end of the game. But that's just a side note. But yeah, definitely 5 out of 6 games you have triple doubles. I mean, he could have had 6 straight games of triple doubles. You cannot factor that out of an MVP race for a candidate.
Definitely
like that.
Not. I mean, even for a guy who missed as many games as Westbrook did early, still
to come back from what he had facial surgery the day before he had his first triple double game. You don't see Steph Curry doing that.
No, I mean, what Steph Curry's done, he's done consistently. He's done his thing all year. But what Westbrook has done, I mean, it's been electrifying. Easily the most fun thing to watch all year. No, yeah, I mean, he's a candidate. I still don't think he's going to win yet, but he's a candidate.
Yeah, he's a candidate, but definitely At this point, I think Steph Curry is definitely the favorite and the candidate that everybody wants to win, because Golden State doesn't get that much love. Where OKC gets a lot of love because they're one of the best teams in the West,
Right.
And the Warriors haven't been until really this year. They haven't really stuck out among the rest. So I think he's definitely the favorite, but you can definitely put Russell Westbrook, even James Harden in there as a candidate for MVP.
Yeah, I agree with you. No question about that. That'll do it for 10 at 10, the bottom line on March 9th. Join us in 2 weeks. We're off next week for spring break. And in
Party! No.
In 2 weeks, we'll have two things. We'll have I will be hosting the morning show of 10 at 10, and we'll have actual video again.
Yeah, we didn't have cameras today. Kind of upsetting, but I mean,
Show must go on, right?
I like our voices better than our faces. So.
Well, I don't like my voice very much right now.
Well, you were doing some hard work this weekend, so.
You know, I was just talking a lot.
He was doing work, just as every journalist should do.
Exactly. Always doing the work. So catch us in 2 weeks for another edition of 10 at 10, the bottom line. And, of course, in the morning, catch 10 at 10, the actual 10 at 10, on the Monday Good Morning KU at 10 a.m. on KUJH and on Ustream and on YouTube. It's all there for you.
Everywhere.
It's everywhere. Anytime you want to see it, anytime you want to look at it, it's all there for you. Thank you for joining us. Catch you in 2 weeks.